Solve absolute value equations and inequalities. Okay, solving absolute value equations and inequalities. First of all, we need to decide what absolute value is. Absolute value of a number, okay? It can be written like this. Have you seen absolute value of a number be written this way? That's your absolute value sign, okay? That tells me I'm taking the absolute value of x, okay? It is the distance. It is the distance. The number is from 0 on a number line. Okay, the distance, the number is from 0 on the number line. So this understanding of absolute value can be extended to apply to simple absolute value equations. So basically, because it's a distance, it's not going to be negative. So even if I put a negative number in here, I'm going to get a positive number out. Okay? So you get something, oops, okay. So you get something like this. If you're taking the absolute value of x, you can have 3 types of possible solutions. Okay, if I put in a positive x, okay, if I can get an x out if x is positive. Okay, if I put in a 0, okay, I'd get a 0 out if x equals 0. And if I put in a negative x, okay, I get a negative x if x is negative, like that's what's going to be happening. So there are 3 types of things that can go in and they get different outputs. Okay, so with that, you have absolute value equations, okay? So you have something that looks like this, an equation that would state the absolute value of x. Another way we can write it is the absolute value of x minus 0 equals k. The distance between x and 0 is k. K is just the variable they use. It stands for your solution, your answer. It is the distance between x and 0. So this is the distance between x and 0. Okay. So what they would show you on a number line is like this. If this is 0 and this is negative k and this is positive k, okay. This here and this here both come out to be positive k. It's your distance between these 2 spaces. So, if you have an equation that says solve, and they give you the absolute value of x minus 5 equals 7. In order to solve this equation, you are going to have to set up 2 separate equations, one with a negative answer and one with a positive answer. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to take this part here, x minus 5, and set it equal to negative 7, and take this part here and say x minus 5 equals 7. I set up 2 equations off of that. One with a positive answer, one with a negative answer. Okay? Positive answer, negative answer. Then I solve both of these equations. When I solve this, I'm adding 5 to both sides, and I get x equals -2. When I solve this, I add 5 to both sides, and I get x equals 12. Okay? So the solutions are -2 and 12. These are the values of x that are 7 units away from 5 on a number line. So if I graph a number line, okay, and zeros here, 1, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Okay, what they're saying is from the number 5, if 5 is my starting point, 12 is 7 units away from 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and -2 is also 7 units away from 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I just found what the distance from 5 was. Okay, this distance is 7 units, and so is this distance. Does that make sense, what you're looking for when you're looking at absolute value? So that's what absolute value essentially is. From 5, what is 7 units away from there? Well, there's 2 possible solutions, 12 and -2. Because it's a distance, I have 2 possible solutions. So if you need to draw a number line and do it that way, do it that way. It might help, okay, to visualize it that way. Solving an absolute value equation, they give us a 3-step process, okay? And the process starts like this. Step 1 says, write 2 equations, like we did. We wrote 2 equations. Okay, write 2 equations. Write 2 equations, and they give you an example, ax plus b equals c. Okay, ax plus b equals c, and ax plus b equals -c. So you write 2 equations. That's always step 1. Step 2 is solve. Okay, solve each equation. Step 3 is check. Okay, check. Check each solution. Check each solution in the original absolute value equation. Okay, so you are, which we did. We checked ours not by plugging this back in, which if we did, we would get this. We would get -2 minus 5 absolute value equals 7. Well, that would be, say, the absolute value of 7. -7 is 7, so that would work. We also can plug in 12 and say 12 minus 5, absolute value is 7. 12 minus 5 is 7, so the absolute value of 7 is 7. That's true. You can also check it by doing a number line. Either way works. Okay? So those are the 3 steps for solving absolute value. So let's try 2 more absolute values. We're going to talk about something that has an extreme list solution and what that means. And then on Tuesday, we will talk about graphing absolute value inequalities. Okay, so we're going to take what we did yesterday and add it to absolute value. So try solving this one. Let's solve the absolute value of 5x minus 10 equals 45. Absolute value of 5x minus 10 equals 45. What do I need to do first?
Make it 2 separate equations.
Make it 2 separate equations. So what are my 2 equations? What are
5x minus 10 equals 45.
5x minus 10 equals 45. And what?
5x minus 10 equals
Good. 5x minus 10 equals negative 45. Oops. I said negative and didn't write negative. There we go. Negative 45. I'm going to add 10. I'll start with this equation. And I'm going to get 5x equals 55. I divide by 5, and that means x comes out to equal what? 11. I add 10 to both sides once again over here, and I end up getting 5x equals negative 35. What is 35? Negative 35 divided by 5?
7.
So,
Negatives.
X equals negative 7. Now, that is step 1. This was step 2. Step 3 is to check our solutions. So I'm going to plug 11 back into this equation. I'm going to plug negative 7 into this equation. Absolute value of 5 times 11 minus 10 equals 45. Absolute 5 times 11 is 55 minus 10 equals 45. 55 minus 10, absolute value of 45 equals 45. That is correct. Then I'm going to check this one also. And I'm going to say the absolute value of 5 times negative 7 minus 10 equals 45. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35 minus 10 equals negative 45, or equals 45. The absolute value of negative 45 equals 45, and that is correct. Okay, so that is another example. One more. There is something called an extraneous solution. Have you heard of an extraneous solution before? Extraneous solution. Okay, an extraneous solution, okay, is this. When you solve an absolute value equation, it is possible for a solution to become extraneous. An extraneous solution is an apparent solution that must be rejected because it does not satisfy the original equation. So, an answer that does not satisfy the original absolute value equation. We're going to take a look at what one of those looks like. That's why we always have to do step 3. We always have to check because of this possible situation. Okay? So what that means is, let's say I have a problem that says solve the absolute value of 2x plus 12 equals 4x. Absolute value of 2x plus 4, I don't know, I think it's plus 12 equals 4x. 2x plus 12 equals 4x. Okay. Step 1, write 2 equations, right? 2x plus 12 equals 4x and 2x plus 12 equals negative 4x. Step 2, solve. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides so that I get 12 equals 4x, divide by 4, and x equals 3. I am going to subtract 2x from both sides and get 12 equals negative 6x, divide by negative 6, and x equals negative 2. Does that make sense so far? Now we come to step 3, which is check, and this is why it's important to check. 2 times 3 plus 12, is it the same as 4 times 3? 2 times 3 is 6 plus 12. The absolute value of 6 plus 12 equals 12. 6 plus 12 is 18. Is the absolute value of 18 equal to 12? No. That solution is called an extraneous solution. It does not work to give me an answer. Okay, over here though, I come and check. 2 times negative 2 plus 12, absolute value of it equals 4 times negative 2. That's not going to be right either, is it?
You can't have a negative for
I did something wrong. We have a negative 2.
Did you not lose?
Oh, because I'm stupid. We subtracted 2 here, and I wrote 4. When you subtract 2, that gives you 6. Stupid. 6. 6 times 4 is 24. Good job. Way to catch it. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 plus 12 is 24. The absolute value of 24 is 24. So this solution works. Okay? This solution I already know isn't going to work. Why do I know it's not going to work? Because it has a negative over here, and I know that the absolute value always comes out to be positive. So technically here I get negative 4 plus 12. The absolute value of that equals negative 8. So I get the absolute value of 8 equals negative 8. Not possible. That's your extraneous solution. Okay? That's why you always have to check. And if you always check like we just did, you can catch your mistakes too. Like I caught my mistake because I said it's not possible that there's not a solution. There has to be at least one. So it lets you catch your own mistakes too, which is good because clearly we all mess up. I just did. Okay? So that is what we're starting with today.